Imagine making wooden trash cans for just $2 an hour. Every single day feels exactly the same. You are stuck on this miserable hamster wheel, and getting ahead feels, well, absolutely impossible. That is exactly where our story begins today, with a young guy who decided he just wasn't going to be a slave to a boss forever. He formulated a plan, took action, and went from a struggling carpenter apprentice to a literal millionaire in his 20s. Today we're breaking down his incredible story and extracting the exact blueprint he used. Welcome to The Explainer. If you are entirely new to saving and investing, you are in the perfect place, because we're going to transform his journey into your ultimate 2026 roadmap to financial freedom. Let's get into it. So, here is our 4-step game plan today. First, finding your financial freedom figure. Second, hacking your everyday expenses. Third, building credit and income. And finally, making your money actually multiply. All right, diving right into step 1, your financial freedom figure. To reach any destination, you first have to know exactly where you're going, right? This figure is the specific target baseline you need to have invested so you can live comfortably without ever having to work again. And look, it's highly personal because financial freedom means different things to different people. Let's look at a hypothetical annual budget for a 20-something looking for a, really comfortable city lifestyle. If you want a sweet one-bedroom apartment in a major city like Miami or London, a fancy car like a Porsche 911, maybe 3 solid vacations a year, plus your food, your bills, health insurance, and going out, you're looking at a baseline of roughly $75,200 a year. Now, obviously, if you want a private jet and a massive mansion, your baseline is going to be way, way higher. But for our example, let's stick with this very comfortable 75 grand. So, how do we turn this yearly expense into a lifetime of total freedom? Well, it actually all comes down to one singular, incredibly powerful magic number: 25. Let's break down why this number matters so much. It's known as the rule of 25. Basically, it's a formula to figure out exactly how much money you need invested so you can withdraw enough to live on every single year without your account balance ever hitting zero. So, you take our baseline of $75,200 and just multiply it by 25. That gives us $1.88 million. And boom, that is your freedom figure. Think of that $1.88 million as this giant golden goose. Every year, it lays just enough golden eggs, about 4% of its value, to cover your $75K lifestyle. As long as you only eat the eggs and never ever eat the goose itself, it's going to keep producing for you indefinitely. Okay, moving right along to step 2. Hack your everyday expenses. Now that we have our massive target of $1.88 million, it is time to play a little defense. This is how we reach that target way faster using smart, daily life hacks, all without giving up the things you actually enjoy. Let's ground this into a totally relatable grocery store run with something called brand hacking. Think about a name brand box of cereal for $4.25 versus the generic store brand for $1.66. Choosing the generic over the big brand name can save you up to 87%. And let's be totally honest with ourselves here. They taste practically identical. And this micromath brilliantly illustrates why that silly little cereal swap actually matters. If you're a beginner to all this saving stuff, you might be thinking, who really cares about $2.56? Well, the math cares. Saving that tiny amount daily compounds into nearly $1,000 a year. Do that for 5 years and you've saved over $4,600, literally just from buying a different box of cereal. This right here is the absolute secret to building wealth. Small, painless, everyday habits that compound over time. And that exact same mindset builds into much bigger structural life hacks. Take car hacking, for instance. The average monthly car payment for a new vehicle right now is a staggering $734. That is nearly $9,000 a year just flush down the drain to keep up appearances. Instead, buy a quality used car that has already lost its initial value. Then there's house hacking, renting a duplex and literally having your neighbor's rent cover your mortgage, or renting out your space on Airbnb whenever you travel. Finally, deal hacking. Never ever accept the sticker price on big purchases like cars. Bring in online quotes to negotiate. Just avoiding that $9,000 yearly car payment is a massive leap toward building up your golden goose. Which brings us to step 3. Build credit and income. All right, we've saved the cash, now we need to secure the foundation. A lot of beginners get taught that credit cards are purely evil and will just trap you in endless debt, but honestly, the truth is entirely different. When used responsibly, meaning you keep your balance low and pay it off in full every single month, credit cards are the absolute best tool you have for building a high credit score. And a stellar credit score proves to lenders that you are reliable. When it's eventually time to buy a house, that great credit score unlocks much lower mortgage rates, keeping thousands and thousands of dollars in your pocket instead of just handing it right over to the bank. But to really build serious wealth, you need to build your income. A lot of people say, oh, I want to start a side hustle to make more money, but then they immediately claim they're just too busy. Well, prepare for a little tough love because the math completely destroys the I'm too busy excuse. Look, there are 168 hours in a week. Subtract 56 hours, so you get a good 8 hours of sleep a night. Subtract 40 hours for your regular day job. Subtract another 20 and a half hours for eating and commuting. Guess what? You are still left with over 50 hours of free time every single week. The time is absolutely there. It really just depends on how badly you actually want that financial freedom. Step 4, the final piece of the puzzle. Make your money multiply. This is where we play offense. The core mindset shift here is realizing that the true function of money isn't just paying your electric bill, it is expansion. The rich get richer because they let their money do the heavy lifting while they are fast asleep. Take an ideal beginner portfolio, for example. You might put 95% into an S&P 500 index fund. Think of this as a single basket holding the 500 biggest companies in the US. Historically, it has returned an average of 12 to 14% a year over the last decade. Pretty amazing. Then, the remaining 5% is allocated to high-risk, high-reward assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's a small enough slice that if it totally goes to zero, hey, you're fine. But if it spikes, you capture all that explosive growth. Now, if you're completely new to investing, you might be thinking, wait a minute, a single share of some of these big companies costs hundreds of dollars. I can't afford that right now. But modern investing platforms offer something amazing called fractional shares. Basically, you can buy just a tiny piece, a fraction of a share. It's like buying one slice instead of the whole pizza. This completely changes the game. It means you no longer need to be rich to enter the stock market. You can start building your golden goose today with literally just a few dollars. And how exactly do you put those few dollars in? You use a strategy called dollar cost averaging. This is an absolute must-know if you're starting out. Instead of trying to magically guess when the stock market is at its lowest point, which, spoiler alert, is impossible, you simply invest the exact same amount of money on a consistent schedule. Maybe it's $20 every Friday, regardless of what the market is doing. This brilliant strategy completely removes human emotion from the equation and averages out your costs over time so you never panic buy when everything is overly expensive. So, let's recap. We've covered calculating your exact target figure, hacking those sneaky daily expenses, building a rock-solid credit foundation, and automating your investments. You now have the complete, step-by-step roadmap to financial freedom right in your hands. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to action. Remember those 50 free hours we found in your week? Are you going to use them to build a side hustle, start dollar cost averaging, and actually secure your financial future? Or are you going to keep making excuses? The choice and the freedom is entirely yours.